Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the L1 Show with Friends. Just two this week because Wendell is still gone. He will be back very soon, though. And today we're doing government and security stories to start the week without him.
I've lost my water jug somewhere, and no one in this office drinks water.
There's none in the fridge?
Not up here.
Really?
There's rarely any downstairs as well. People just don't drink water. What's wrong with you people? And
what's funny, we were talking about the water jug thing. I was like, where could you even go and have left it somewhere?
No, it's might be sitting outside my house. I had to bring in a garbage can, so.
That's your weird neighbor who mows all the time is like, ooh, free water jug.
How funny would it be if he was like, every time I see him mowing, he's just
drinking it, yeah.
The jug. Well, that's got nothing to do with this, which is there's something wrong with people in the office, but there's also something wrong with all of our big tech companies. There's quite a few things wrong with them. I think our government has largely ignored it because there's a lot of money to be had there. But there's a new sheriff or sheriffs in town, and they're going to tag team it.
U.S. set stage for antitrust probes into Microsoft, OpenAI, and Nvidia.
It's interesting. I mean, in terms of like jurisdiction and what your job title is and all that, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But in practical terms, maybe it does. It's the FTC and the FCC are kind of like, all right, you got Microsoft, I got Amazon.
They're shaking hands. Yeah. That emoji.
And they bring up the most obvious recent stuff with all the AI shenanigans. OpenAI being a non-profit company, but then having the for-profit arm that Microsoft bought 49% of. Yada, yada, yada. These companies continue to acquire. They continue to merge. They had to know this was coming.
Also, I mean, like, I'm sure all the software at all those government offices is Microsoft, too. Could you argue that's also?
Yeah, unfortunately. Remember, Germany they keep experimenting. They keep going back and forth, depending on who gets elected. And it just goes right back the next time they get another foot in the door. Hilarious. And Janet Yellen, or what is she, Secretary of Commerce or something at this point? She used to be the Fed chair during some of the darkest times of Fed shenanigans. So I don't trust her, but she's the one who's going to tell us about AI.
Yellen to warn of significant risks from use of AI in finance.
She's not wrong. I mean, we see a lot of what they call flash crashes, fat fingers, algorithms gone wild, stuff like that. In the modern day, they just go in and they're like, that never happened.
It's like, okay, we really are just making this up, aren't we?
But yeah, if AI gets in there, that kind of stuff probably would increase a little bit. And it would destroy jobs. It would automate the market, destroy more jobs, and make the market more risky. What's not to like?
If you're already in power.
And the FTC has been maybe criticized, not by the people very much, I would think, but by the NGOs that these tech companies hire, to say that they were too hard and they can't come back after the fact and say that you can't have a merger when they already said that you could have a merger. But the FTC says there's a few details you're leaving out.
Meta withheld information on Instagram WhatsApp deals, says the FTC.
So they claim if they'd had that information, they would not have said yes to those mergers.
This reminds me of like when you're a kid and, you want to go do something and you go ask your one parent and the parent's like, no. And then you just kind of go and like fudge it a little bit when you talk to the other parent and the other parent's like, well, I guess if your dad said it was okay.
So yeah, they're still looking into that. And I'm sure there's a lot to look into. And unfortunately, if you are one of the poors and you need internet, you used to get a little bit of a subsidy for that, but not anymore.
FCC ends affordable internet program due to lack of funds.
So this was like $14 billion. It seems like a lot of money. But I'm thinking like, I don't know, maybe with some of our recent foreign expenditures, maybe we could have gone to Raytheon and been like, listen, guys, you got us down for 1,000 missiles. Let's make it 500 and the poors can have internet.
Well, but my thinking was even just like, how many times have we paid for internet and subsidized all these ISPs? And it's like, can't we just have them forcibly offer a lower tier internet for?
Well, no, but a couple of them did get on board. Probably they're going to reap huge rewards for it, but they did agree to extend the subsidies. I don't think as much,
Yeah.
but, just out of their hearts.
We'll throw you a bone for now until it affects our profits, and then we will change our mind.
Previously, they still got the money. Like it just came out of the taxpayers' pocket and into their pocket. So I don't think they would hate this program. It's just that there's no money, which is weird because there's always money for some things. And we got the whole net neutrality thing returned. Just like kind of when it went away, there was no massive sea change the next day. It's kind of, I think these battles are being fought and the casualties are being seen outside of our view. But there are definitely interest groups who don't like it.
ISPs seek halt of net neutrality rules before they take effect next month. They're really down to the wire now.
Yeah. And it's funny. You can go down here and you can sort of read what they come up with in terms of how to argue against it, because it's kind of hard to argue against.
Yeah.
Well, they come up with some interesting ways to do it. And I guess if you're really uninformed,
some convoluted ways.
If you're super uninformed, maybe you'd fall for it.
Maybe.
And social media for children, that is something that you have been strongly opinionated on.
Yeah, in the past.
You go a lot lower than most people, but perhaps not the governor of New York.
A landmark New York bill would restrict social media for children. Here's what to know.
I think it's 16, right?
I think, yeah, well, there was a similar thing, I think, also in New York, where it was like, you can't bring it into schools, can't do any of that.
So this is, you can still use social media, but not during certain hours, like late night, early morning. They don't want to disturb your sleep with notifications. That's one of the big things. The other big thing is no algorithm. Your feed must be in order of date.
Can we all have that? I want that so bad. It drives me crazy when I log into something and it's just like completely random, or it shows me the same posts over and over. It's like, just show me latest.
And the answer to your question is no, because that would, they've probably done the tests, right?
Oh,
they know that it's way, way more profitable to have the algorithm keep you hooked. So that's interesting. A lot of the opponents of that, again, probably industry groups, are saying it's like a free speech thing. Like you can't tell kids they can't see certain things, but we do that
with lots
every
of things,
single day. Yeah, and
we also tell them they can't have alcohol, they can't have cigarettes, like.
And a lot of those same lawmakers who might be, flirted with by the industry groups and support the opposite would argue against or argue for censoring the other stuff still. So, somewhat bipolar in their approach as usual. And here's a little bit of good news if you are a victim of LockBit ransomware.
FBI recovers 7,000 LockBit keys, urges ransomware victims to reach out. Not to them, just to a therapist.
The pro move here is to pretend to be the FBI and fish. Get them again.
You got to be quicker than that.
That's a rare win for the FBI, though. And maybe this one is too, because I can't think of too many people who are against this. This seems like something that is just flatly anti-consumer.
Yes. FBI raids corporate landlord in major rent price fixing probe. This seems to be a major issue everywhere.
So this is Real Pages, which we talked about pretty exhaustively in the past. And it doesn't necessarily collude. Like, you don't have to go. Like, if Chris and I we had apartment units, we wouldn't have to talk to each other and be like, I think this should be the price. The software would kind of just do that for us. Yeah. They would just sort of figure it out. Some amazing statistics in this article. So they did the Atlanta one because they point out that I think 81% of Atlanta, 81% rental units in Atlanta are under this Real Pages software.
So that means they're all.
And since 2016, which I think is actually Real Pages probably came a little after that, but since 2016, 80% increase in rent prices.
I don't believe that. I'm blown away. I mean, like Lexington here, it's not super close to where we are, but like that's probably the biggest major city near us. And the prices there are absolutely absurd because it's not really a city.
Oh, it says Real Pages acquired their major competitor in 2017. So when they got monopoly, that's when the price started to skyrocket. It's hard to argue with those statistics.
No, it just naturally, organically rose 80%. Don't worry about it.
Everything did inflate.
But not that much.
But the inflation didn't kick in 2017,
Yeah.
2016. It was much later. And moving over to the European Union. Well, no, all of Europe. I'm sorry, not just the European Union, because we're talking about the UK. And the UK has a lawsuit against, guess who?
Tribunal rules 17 billion UK adtech lawsuit against Google can go ahead. Cha-ching.
That would be enough to pay for our poor people internet.
No, then they're going to raise the price, and then it won't be enough.
And Meta has locked horns with the European Union many, many times over many, many topics, one of which is personal data. Can your personal data be exfiltrated from the country to somewhere else? They've ultimately decided no, but that's just for like advertising personal data. AI data is totally different, right?
Meta faces call in EU not to use personal data for AI models. You cannot currently opt out, but you should be able to in the EU.
Meta had an interesting quote that was kind of sounded like they were saying we don't do that, but they never came out and said we don't do that.
They just implied it so that way you could, make of it what you will.
They also point out that if you are not logged in, then you definitely should have nothing to do with any kind of data. But they suspect that it's still happening.
Oh, yeah.
This one was hard to read because it's Switzerland, right? Zurich. Yeah, that's Switzerland. And this is a translation. But I think I got the gist of it. Did you?
A primary school will continue with a tracker education so they can be monitored.
Yeah, that's just word salad because it's Chrome auto translate.
Yeah.
Why isn't AI doing this?
Maybe AI is also not great at... Well, so Swiss German's also a little bit different than regular German. So maybe it struggles with that a little bit. Who knows?
Anyway, the idea here is that every kid in the school gets a monitor. And not only does it monitor them, but they have like tablets that they hand out to the faculty. And the tablets can filter down to an individual student. So like if you want to know where little Billy is, there's a way to do that.
Ooh.
And
That won't be used for nefarious purposes ever.
But the worst thing here, in my mind, is it's boiling our little frogs, right?
Yeah.
Like they're getting used to mass surveillance.
Well, they have that. Well, we have a story later in Robot about how kids trust robots more than people up to a certain age.
So some people are against this. They do point out that there is a process you can go through to opt your kid out. Can you imagine being the only kid without the tracker? How bullied you would get?
Would you be bullied, or would it be like...
Anything that makes you different.
I don't know. It's like, no, he has freedom. Let him go get candy bars.
People don't like that. People who make a mistake en masse, if you didn't make it, they hate you. Because it's got that.
That's true. Yeah, like if you did really well on a test and everyone else like flunked it, and you got a little bit of a target on your back.
Little Billy can go wherever he feels like. But they'll know if we do it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you if the kids take these home or the parents provide them or how it works. But if I was a parent and my kid was bringing this home, I would try to form a coalition with other parents to exchange them constantly. So they'd never know.
Yeah.
And then if the kid got in trouble for it, I'd be like, oh, that's my fault. I'm sorry.
We all just got it mixed up. We were all at soccer practice the other day.
I was helping, this Sarah came over and I was helping her with her laundry and they got mixed up. I'm sorry. Won't happen again, but it would.
It continued to happen. Every day, in fact.
And here's something that we see constantly, although the country of origin is usually China or Iran or Russia.
Israel secretly targets U.S. lawmakers with influence campaign on Gaza war. That's probably me saying that. Probably got us demonetized, but...
Yeah. It's exactly what it says. They created fake accounts. They used AI to make it seem like the populace was screaming out for war.
I'm just imagining an influencer, but like, you know how you've ever seen like a skincare influencer and they're like, and then I have this, but it's like war instead of like a skincare product.
What would the icon of war be that you'd be showing?
Yeah, what would be it should just be like a normal like plastic packaging, but instead of like, skincare, so it's just this war on it.
Proxy war. And RISC-V is the other chip. ARM is the other chip. RISC-V is the furthest back, I guess. And China is kind of, they're looking to that. They're being sanctioned. They're like, hey, how can we use all this extra stuff? And they claim, again, this is China claiming something, but they claim they found something very important.
Scientists find security risk in RISC-V open source chip architecture that China hopes can help sidestep U.S. sanctions.
They had a lot of opportunity to do something fun with that.
Yeah, I know. I got that like mixed up. I wanted to do like a goofy title there, but it's just RISC-V.
So the problem here is RISC reduced instruction set. It cuts the instructions down into smaller and smaller bits. And the Chinese claim that they have found a way to exploit that at that level, which is a very low level to actually get an exploit to work. So, could be bad. We'll see.
That's how I just feel about everything I hear from China right now. It could be bad. We'll see.
Well, this certainly follows suit, doesn't it?
TSMC says it has discussed moving fabs out of Taiwan, but such a move is impossible.
They were really careful to be like, listen, everything's going to be fine.
Unless it's not, in which case we are thinking about backup plans. I kind of understand, like you should have a backup plan, but
this is like a $100 billion backup plan.
Yeah.
So I think Wendell's actually in the air right now as we're filming
He
this.
is, yeah.
Leaving that place. No war during his visit. And one of the things that we cover a lot here is how ridiculous it is that we have publicly funded research that you're not allowed to look at unless you pay for it. Think about that. You paid for it.
I'm thinking about it. It makes me mad. I don't want to think about it.
Well, the Japanese have been thinking about it too, and shockingly, they came up with a different solution.
Japan's push to make all research open access is taking shape. Would be lovely, wouldn't it?
So they're actually going to pay the universities still, but it's going to be a public fund. And if they do the research, you get to go look at it.
They're going for the science victory. Cultural victory.
I mean, when you have a small landmass, it might not be the worst thing to do.
I always go for cultural victory, and then Wendell nukes me when we play Civ.
Well, the Binance situation is still playing out, and we are pretty cordial when things like this happen. You get arrested in the U.S., it's not that bad a deal. Probably even easier on you in Europe. But some places, they don't play around as much.
Biden urged to act as lawmakers fear the life of detained Binance executive in Nigeria.
They claim that in his last court appearance, he appeared to have malaria and passed out.
Oh.
Yeah. So maybe not the best care in that environment.
Ugh.
They're a little upset about that missing money, though.
Fair. I understand that. But maybe don't let them die of malaria.
And don't get involved with that kind of risky nonsense with your government funds. And up in Canada, man, Canada, every week it's a worse. Canada is just spiraling. What is going on?
They're neck and neck with us right now.
I think they're below us at this point. And it's just amazing. But once again, they are going to try and take something away from everybody to sort of prop up what they believe is right.
Foreign streamers must pay into fund to boost Canadian content, CRTC says. I know Canada does a lot of artistic grants for Canadian creators, which is kind of nice, but why put down your foreign folks?
Well, what was that one really amazing Canadian TV show? Exactly.
Grimes is from Canada. She's absolutely Looney Tunes, but I do love her music.
You've doubled down on my point.
Yeah.
And another terrible situation, it seems like we need to do more about this. We need to put more effort into this. Maybe, again, shave just a little bit off the war effort. Just a couple of slices, put it into the hospitals.
Services disrupted as London hospitals hit by cyber attack.
So this was, I think it originated from one of the blood things. So if you had a blood test or something, and you had,
pretty routine, yeah.
So surgeries and all that kind of stuff, it's involved in all of it. They can't do anything. They're completely ransomwared.
Ooh.
So they're shutting down all elective surgeries. They talked about surgeries that they just cannot wait, like a cesarean section. You have to travel. So they put you in an ambulance, send you to the next city. Imagine being ready to pop
Or literally popping.
Yeah.
Like,
Sorry, ma'am. You're going to have to travel.
if it's an emergency C-section too, that's awful.
Yeah, terrible situation. And we all know that our data is out there. It can't be protected. And more, it's being consolidated. So the record of you that gets stolen gets better and better with each iteration.
Crooks threatened to leak 3 billion personal records stolen from background check firm.
This is, you probably can't read that, right?
No. Absolutely not from this distance.
It's a whole lot of stuff, including family relationships and stuff like that. Like they have a really big, because it's a background check.
Background check. They would see if you, relatives.
So it goes back 20 years. It's a lot that's about to be leaked. They have been trying to sell it. It seems like they've not been successful. And now they're thinking about it, or they're thinking that they might just release it.
Well, I did all this work to get it. Someone ought to have it.
I did a background check. It wasn't private, but it was in the last 5 years. I wonder if it's...
I've definitely done a couple.
Snowflake is a bad name for a company in the modern era, but someone chose it.
That's hilarious.
And they may be at the source of one of our big ticket hacks. Get what I did there? Recently. But they're saying no. However, all the other evidence seems to say yes.
Snowflake says there's no evidence attackers breached its platform to hack Ticketmaster. No public evidence. There's maybe internal evidence.
Yeah, so Snowflake is it's used by all of these companies, and a lot of people are making they're putting the strings together. They're like, maybe, but Snowflake says no, definitely wasn't us. Stop saying that.
No Snowflake thinks it's responsible for the avalanche,
We do not believe this activity is caused by vulnerability, misconfiguration, or malicious activity within the Snowflake product. We'll probably find out in about 2 years.
Yeah. But then we'll be like, do you remember that? I'm like, vaguely? Maybe?
404 Media's gone paywall. I'm so disappointed in them. Now, last week we talked about the big Google leak. The big story last week was that we learned about the Google ranking algorithm. We didn't get all the details, but we got a lot of them, and there were a lot of them. But there were some other little nuggets hidden upon all that.
Google leak reveals thousands of privacy incidents. Does that surprise literally anyone?
So these are actual records that engineers at Google put in, and they were like, hey guys, I was just reviewing some stuff, and we're recording children. Just get heads up on that. We say we don't do that. Well, we're doing it here. And over, there was various other things that in the past Google's been accused of, denied completely, when internally they had records of people finding it and raising their hands and being like, hey guys, I found this.
Put your hand down. Don't tell anybody about that.
That's basically how it goes, right?
Yeah.
Once again, we need the prize, the level 1 prize for the engineer that raised their hand.
And then, because they've been fired probably at this point.
Yeah. And if you are still going on to Stack Overflow, why? AI doesn't exist now. You can
just takes it from Stack Overflow.
But Stack Overflow is still out there, and maybe they're desperate to have a lot of clicks because they're not maybe paying as much attention to what's being advised on their platform these days.
Cybercriminals pose as helpful Stack Overflow users to push malware. So the asshole on Stack Overflow who's like, why aren't you using this? Is now probably just pushing malware.
It's exactly that. And it, in many cases, I think will solve your problem. It's a PyPy repository that still does what the real one does, but has a little malware sprinkled in there.
Just a little.
Yeah.
Solution can have a little malware.
Yeah. And they've discovered that this, and because it solves your problem, you might actually get upvoted for your malware. It's a good scam, I guess.
Yeah, people don't look at what they're getting.
I should have sorted this one right after the other one because this is another perfect example of the level 1 raise your hand award.
Law student unfairly disciplined after reporting data breach blunder.
So this is the old, they've got some kind of web thing going on, and it's got an ID in it. And if you just iterate the ID, it'll keep showing you somebody else's record. It's an easy mistake to make if you don't know anything about what you're doing when you're building websites. But they did not care for hearing about it. They did not treat him like the hero that he is.
I shouldn't be able to do this. Yeah, you shouldn't. Don't do that again. But it's like, should we fix it?
Yeah,
no.
That's how they always react. Like, you shouldn't have done it, and now we're coming after you for doing it. It's like, just because you thought to test it a little bit, now you're the monster.
Yeah.
It's kind of how the government views all that stuff, too. Right? Well, Julian Assange, right? Mm-hmm. Like, hey, guys, I found a bunch of criminality. No, you're the criminal, sir.
You should not pay attention to that.
And you should not pay attention to any of these, according to Nintendo.
Nintendo hits 127 Switch piracy tutorial repos after cracking URL encryption.
So this was on GitHub, and they had figured out kind of like a sneaky little way to set the URLs because they knew that they would get taken down over time. Nintendo hilariously bypassed their security. You see the irony there?
It's okay if they do it, though.
They've got the money, right? And here is a terrifying reality that I'm sure all of us will be.
Did you never have that experience, like, growing up where you're always terrified, like, if you go into a store and don't buy anything, it's like, oh, they're going to think I stole something?
Kind of. But at the same time, like, when I hit a certain age, I understood it's like they actually can't do anything. Although I think lately they can. I've been watching some of these body cam videos. I was always under the impression, like, you're not a cop. I don't have to listen to anything you have to say. But they can put hands on you now, apparently, to stop you.
That was what I was afraid. So, like, growing up, the only, like, real place we had to go in my town was Walmart. And so, like, me and my friends, we'd go, and then we'd, like, go look at the makeup section.
Yeah.
But there was, like, a person who just sat and stared at you the entire time, and it was terrifying. I was like, oh, we're going to get in trouble.
You know what's crazy is a lot of these body cam videos are, what's the name of the makeup place that we got here in town recently?
We have a Sephora and an Ulta.
It was one of those. But they catch them, and when they catch them, they have to itemize all the products and the total cost. They're stealing like $5,000 worth of stuff.
Yeah. Oh, makeup. Like, if you buy the nice stuff, it's not cheap.
That's a great thing to shoplift in, right? Because it's small,
yeah,
and it's valuable. I don't know how easy it is to missell. But that's not what this young lady was doing. She was just shopping.
I was misidentified as a shoplifter by facial recognition tech.
So,
a home bargain store.
This is in the UK, I guess. They have been using this facial recognition system, Face Watch. That's kind of dystopian, right? Budgeons, Sports Direct, and Cost Cutter. So, interestingly, if you're part of the Face Watch network and you get caught somewhere, you're banned everywhere. Wow. So she would have been banned from all of these stores. And any future Face Watch customers, she would remain in that. And as soon as she walks in, just like happened here, something hits and the asset team comes out and they're like, you have to go. You can't be here.
And we know the error rate on facial recognition is obscenely high.
And it is that whole thing where, it's trained primarily on white people.
Yeah, so it often misidentifies other races, which is not great either.
But they don't care. At the same time, I understand that shoplifting is just off the charts right now.
Right.
I don't know what you do about it. But it seems like
this is maybe a little step too far.
Maybe throw more people at it, right? I mean, people need jobs right around now.
No, but they don't want to pay for that. They can just pay like software to do it and then, kick out some legitimate customers.
If I owned a chain of stores, I might consider it, right? Because you're getting screwed pretty hard by the theft. It's not for me to decide, thankfully. And finally, it's actually been a little while since we've had one of these. I think this is like the 6th biggest, 8th biggest that we've ever had.
Hackers steal $305 million from DMM Bitcoin crypto exchange.
They just got it. And they say they're going to refund everybody, but didn't Binance. And I guess FTX is in the process of doing it, but only because of crypto going up in price.
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
Sucks to suck, yeah.
I should pull my crypto out, I guess, and cold wallet it, but I never do.
You're going to regret that one day. We're going to do a story like this, and then you're going to be like,
it's going to hit like $1 million, and then I'm going to lose all mine. Short government this week. I don't know the government stories just are not, but we got a big thick
collapse
chunk on Wednesday.
Yeah. We'll see you guys then. Bye.